Well, hello everybody. My name is Ben Kirkland. I'm an instructor of industrial design. I want to thank Sean for inviting me to come speak with you all today here for your landscape architecture Friday lecture. I'm also grateful that y'all allow our industrial design students to join in, and whomever might want to come check out some stuff about big timber and little timber. I'm going to be discussing timber frames and bonsai, and a little bit about how they tie together. I'm not going to go deep into history because that's not what this lecture is about. This is more going to be my experience with these two mediums. Come on, Sean. There we go. Got it. All right. Timber frames. Now you're going to see a bunch of terrible images because as a timber framer back in 2006, 7, and 8, we didn't have the iPhone, and our digital cameras weren't all that stellar. So sorry for some fuzzy images. I did try to give photo courtesies or photo recognition to all the people that helped me get some of these images together, including Tommy Gilly. This is a timber frame. This is a timber frame structure designed and created and raised by Dreamy Creek Timber Frame Homes. They changed the name to Dreamy Creek Architectural Timber, and then they went out of business. So we'll talk about that. This is not a timber frame home. This is a log home. Logs are apparent. They have a nice round base. In timber frame, you can have some of the outside feature, the lane, if you will. But this is a log home. This is a timber home. Can you all see the difference? The more squared off, they've been hewn. Traditionally, they would be sawn and then using adze, which is a type of tool, like a flip tool, and an axe, and all sorts of other fun things. And we'll talk tools here in just a second. But this is a timber home, not a log home. All right. Timber goes back a very long period of time in our history. Human beings, they're the first homes. We don't have a lot of outstanding timber structures from our prehistory and Neolithic history because it's wood. And they eventually brought timber structures span the world. These are more of a European style, a Western style. That's a very ancient Whoever's on can mute Jace. That's probably a 500-year-old structure. This is a new structure in England. This is called a crux frame. Both of these are crux frames. What you have is a timber that has a natural curve. And then you harvest it, you split it down the middle, and open it up like a book. All right, so they're book matched to each other. Those curves are the natural shape of the tree. Very easy. You don't have to square them up and find the perfect straight tree out in the woods. You can create what are called crux frames, and that's what those are. Very, very pretty. I'm going to show a couple of images about construction of this. You can see where they are hewing that log on the left-hand side. They're using chainsaws these days as opposed to the hand saws of the past. And then these gentlemen on the right hand side are scribing it. By scribing it, they're cutting this by hand. They have a layout. They have little miniatures that they're basing this off of, much like boat rights used to do. And then they mark. They scribe. That's what that's for. They scribe the timber. Then they cut accordingly. It's all joinery. It's joined together with posts or little pegs. They're called trunnels. They're called a lot of different things, but you can call them pegs. Wood nails is another version of that. But that's a really nice joint there. And this is more maybe the architecture side. Like we're landscape architects and we're industrial designers. But these things are just a matter of scale. Architecture is industrial design on a macro scale, right? That is the biggest, coolest piece of furniture, right? Whenever you build a chair, that is architecture on a small scale, etc. But the traditional way of raising a frame is by hand. For really large bents, that's what that's called, as a bent. Coming up, you have posts, like poles with a nail on it. And then you can raise them up with dozens of people. And then they put in the girders off to the side. These are, again, terrible images. Previous ones from the company I worked for. This was an old church that had burned, and then they restored it. With the walls still standing, they were able to crane in each individual bent. You can see four bents. There's four, A-frame shaped pieces coming in. Those are called the bents. And one of the traditions about timber framing is paying homage to the timber itself. Right here on the left-hand side, the frame is done by the timber framers. They've raised it. That's what it's called, like raising a barn. It's raising a timber frame. You find a live branch somewhere off-site, and you bring it to the tree and you nail it at the gable end. And that's a tradition that I've seen other people do, not just in timber frame, but even Bill Galloway did a small structure for the architecture program. And then he went out and found a little juniper branch, broke it off. And it was, even though it was made out of steel, he went ahead and put that branch up there. So there are a lot of traditions that follow. On the right-hand side are a couple of framers. Tim on the left, that's Ron, who's still a very close friend. Savar, I know you're out there. Can you go ahead and mute? On the right-hand side is John Paul, a.k.a. Blue. That's my boy. They're up there finishing up this ridge beam. They will all sign that ridge beam. They might even put pennies of the year that they raise that frame into the joint. Bottom right-hand corner for some of you can see some of the markings. That 1516 is that particular timber, and that marries with another couple of timbers. You can see blue was here because John liked to sign everything. At the bottom left-hand says checked by LT, that's Larry Tuller. He's a master timberite. Timber framing is a mixture of different paths. It's a trade. So you'll have an apprentice, or greenhorn, sometimes they're called. And then you can go to journeyman, which is when you're hitting the road and putting up timber frames. And then you have timberite, where you can go on the road and lead the crew, and you can scribe and do other things. And then you have master timberite. Ron in the blue helmet is a master timberite. And they can do all aspects of timber joinery. These are some of the tools that you use to create a timber frame. That's a 16-inch circular saw. They make them up to 20 inches. Pretty badass. And heavy duty. They're intimidating to start off with, but you get used to it. Sometimes that's just called a timber saw. There's a side view of it. Very dangerous work, so watch your fingers. This is I think it's a 10-inch planer. To make them up to 12, 14-inch planers. It's a hand planer. Again, watch your fingers. But a really powerful machine. This is a chainsaw mortiser. A lot of mortising tools in the past were done by an auger bit, and then they would come in and angle the corners. Jason. Yo, Jason.
Be prepared to start getting tapped.
Mute. So anyway, after drilling your holes, chiseling it out, you can make a kind of a curved chisel. It's called a swan deck. I've got one over here on the table that you can check out, and then you can smooth out the bottom of the mortise. But nowadays you just have a chainsaw mortise where you plunge it in, move it side to side, pick it up, move it over, plunge it in, move it side to side. You can chainsaw out a mortise very quickly. And that will receive the tenon. And that's part of joinery. For anybody joining things together, look into some joinery. That's a drill with a nice guide. If you don't have those guides, that half-inch drill can really hurt your wrist. If you're making a 2-inch hole in a timber and it catches, it binds up, it can break your wrist. So you got to watch out for those. Notice he's standing on top of the timber, which is also on top of saw horses. A half-inch drill can knock you off balance, but a 3/4 can throw you. And then, of course, the tool of every timber framer is the chisel and the mallet. And I have examples of half-inch, or excuse me, 1.5-inch bar chisel, a socket chisel, a 2-inch chisel that's really old and antique. I lost my corner chisel, or let a student borrow it. And I have a series of mallets. One I made out of dogwood and oak. That's a $200 mallet. If you find it, get it back. But there's a dogwood head with an oak trundle wood nail that's used as a handle, and the other is lignum vitae, one of the densest woods in the world. So a nice wood turn mallet. Really handy stuff. And that's what those chisels look like, brand spanking new. They're a badass tool. I tell you what, very sharp. I used one of my chisels recently for just shaving down something. It wasn't timber work. Just needing to shave something. I needed a sharp edge. They are still sharp after 15 years. So just be very careful if you pick them up. They will cut you. Please don't drop them. And here's me using some tools. Thankfully, Dreaming Creek took some photos of all of us while we were in there working. Those are knee braces. They're kind of corner braces. They go in at about a 45-degree angle. And I'm just cutting the curve out of those on a bandsaw. And that's me cleaning up a few more. What I'm working on there is the tenon. I talked about the mortise, which is the hole in the timber. That's the tenon that goes into that hole. What I'm doing is providing a leading edge. It sucks whenever you're on site and something is binding up. It's just like a 1/16 of an inch off, an 1/8 of an inch off, and you need it to go in, but it won't go in. If you can ease that edge before it happens, then it will slide in. And then you can use a come along and wrench it nice and tight. Sometimes it does happen when fiber binds up. Again, you grab your chisel and you can knock those corners off in a rougher mode. That gets the job done very quickly. There are a few other tools, but that's it. I don't have access to any of my drawings except on paper, and I could not find the portfolio. But working in a timber with a timber company in the beamery, making frames, going on site building frames was actually the leapfrogging moment for me to become a designer. A lot of design jobs said I didn't have enough experience, and so instead of being able to make it to the front door, I went through the back. By showing that I could work my ass off and I could understand what timber frames are and what they can do, they said, you know what you're doing, you're a hard worker, we need you up in the office now. And so that was my first. That was the way I got into my first design, which is what I call the backdoor approach. Y'all feel free to use it. Go work for a company if they don't have a job for you. It's easier to hire from within than it is to find somebody else. I'm going to show a couple of examples of frames that I went on the job sites for. This one down in Marshall, North Carolina. At the end of that gable, the far end, it's a 75-foot drop down to the cliffside below. And I dropped one of my co-workers' spirit levels off of that. He was none too pleased because his mom gave it to him. It was made of mahogany, and we made fun of him for bringing in the spirit level on the job. Because construction workers do that. This is the same frame. This is called a scissor frame. You can see the obvious reasons why. I talked about the crook or the crooked. That's what the root word is based on. Crooked. That crook frame. This is a scissor frame. There are many styles of frames. This is southern yellow pine, and it has Brazilian cherry, which is not a true cherry, but it's a berry, much like a cherry. It has wood pegs made out of Brazilian cherry. So you have this gorgeous yellow style timber with some red streaks in it, followed by red accents. Very nice. Terrible photograph. But that's me on the left-hand side, and that is Thomas Kellum on the right-hand side. Shows you how big those timbers are whenever you're up close. We're leaning against the king post. That's what that's called in the middle. Is a king post. Off to the sides would be queen posts and jack posts. Jack rack. This is Maybank, Texas. This is a 30,000 square foot party barn. This is where he put his four-wheelers, boats, jet skis, everything else. He was a pharmacist that made a bunch of money. And he spent it. In the middle are some larger logs. We actually took 4-inch diameter Western red cedar logs, and we got them onto a machine that we designed and built that could rotate it to put in all your mortises for joining timber. About 40 feet in the air, 50 feet in the air at the top point. You can see a ladder on the right-hand side, maybe for a little better scale. That same ladder is on the left-hand side with some mooning the camera. Not to be named. At the very top. That's me up there pointing for home. We're really close to getting ready to go home. This was a hard job. It took 3 months. And as you can tell how muddy it gets. It actually got icy in Texas. It got to 90 degrees in Texas. It was a hard time. Leaving every job site, Tommy would take a picture of the frame in the rear view. And this was a nice one. This one's Scottsville, Virginia, a little more local. This is a queen post. So you have the king going through the middle. You have the two queens off to the left-hand side. Followed by knee bracing. Terrible photograph. But again, you can see the face of the timber. It's not the outside of the log. And they're all held together with wood nails, the trunnels. Now, those were Western styles, but as I mentioned at the beginning, timber has been around through human history. Chinese and Japanese timbers are timber structures are beautiful. It originates from China, ancient China, for like 7,000 year record. And then we see a lot of it in Japanese architecture, which is where this is from. There's a little bit more contemporary style. And I'm going to talk more about this and why this is important. And this is an office space. I think this is in Osaka. But they have some timber units that are laminated together. They're not full timbers, but mostly cedar. This is an Angawa, which is a transition from outside to inside, and bringing inside to the out and the outside to the end. And we're going to transition here in just a second to another subject. But if you have curiosities about timber framing, the Timber Framers Guild is a great resource. They do have this book. It's a free PDF online. I do have some timber frame books over there on the table. And when it comes to Japanese joinery, it's a whole different book. And it's gorgeous. And I have that book over there as well. 3D PDFs are available. I know we're going to do a Q&A or something like that afterwards. So hold your questions. But if you got questions about timber, hold tight. We'll be right there. This is one of the very first. This is the first timber structure that I can recall seeing. I didn't see it in person. This is the photograph that I saw. Because my dad is in the bottom right-hand corner. That's his boss and his boss's kids. My dad was a Marine stationed in Okinawa for a year. And then 6 months after he left his duty there, he went to Korea. And so there's another timber structure there in South Korea. There's a memorial site. Thank you, Dr. Choi, for helping me with that. But if you notice the landscape behind it, even though this is a memorial site, we have some sculpted trees. He also sent us postcards and other images of bonsai gardens which have been lost to time. But this got me interested in the next part of our discussion, which is bonsai. Going from big timber down to a little timber. We're talking architecture, we're talking landscape, we're talking interiors, we're talking industrial design. I think these things are all very beautiful. This is I just forgot the name of the structure. It's a window, if you will, within a home where you can set important objects, artwork, etc., and frame in such a way with details. Bonsai is an ancient art. I'm not going to talk about the histories of this, but that image on the left-hand side is, I think, from the 700s. As you can tell, the person's carrying this tray with little plants in it. Bonsai in Japanese means tree in a tray. If you go to the literal translation, there's more meaning to that literal translation. The image on the left is Chinese. In China, it's called bonsai. Penjin. This was just an image here of me potting up a tree that had recently been collected. So there's no branching. But I'll show you what that turns into. Bonsai for me is an expression. It's an art form. It's a life. You get chained to them. You can't go on vacation without having somebody take care of the trees. For an art form, it's not just the physical horticultural aspect of it. You're designing all the way through. On the left-hand side is John Naka. We call him the father or grandfather of American bonsai. He's a dual citizenship in Japan and the United States. And he taught many Westerners the art of bonsai. On the right-hand side is me drawing a tree and trying to design it in the early spring, late winter, early spring. But you can see that there's a way to express yourself through the medium of trees. And in this case, sketching. That is the tree that I am working on. And hopefully in another 10 years, it'll look like that on the right-hand side. It's a long game. Very, very long game. That tree that I have with the top been chopped off. Top have been chopped off on it. This is an American hornbeam. I like working with our native local species. That tree is now dead. Unfortunately, I had a rough lost a few. But that top part was allowed to grow unobstructed for years, and then brought it back and let it grow again, then cut it back and let it grow again. And the flat cut saw cut was then carved into a detailed shot. It got carved up even more after that picture was taken. You can see some training where I added wire and some branches down. That's part of the process to get the tree to grow in a way that you want. This is another American hornbeam.
hornbeam.
This is in the
This is in the
late
late
spring.
spring.
Nice overcast
day.
next to my shed.
Next to my shed.
There's a graft that I'm working on the bottom right-hand side. You can see it curled over, like a sideways U. What I've done is I've threaded this through the tree, hoping that it would graft. It was grafting, and this year I was going to cut it off, and the right-hand side would have been gone, that left side of the branch was really nice and long would have been left over, making a new branch. That tree also died this winter. So that was a bummer. It hurts your feelings. I've been
working on this for 7 years.
You know, from the trunk chop to that point, to 7 years. This is a very old Kirkland juniper, sometimes called a Japanese garden juniper. It had taken a very severe fall off of the bench. The wind came through and blew it over. And so I reoriented it into this position. You can see that wooden box, that timbered box on the left-hand side. You're going to start seeing a lot of wood incorporated into the areas where the trees are also located. Because there's this kind of dynamic of wabi-sabi, if y'all have heard the term. And it's kind of a this balance between what is nature and our part within that nature. We're actually kind of the same thing. This aged effect on the box, this raw pine with regular drywall screws. You can see there's a little bit of rust, there's a little bit of oxidation on the wood. There's even a little bit of algae. You know, that's got a little wabi-sabi feel to it. It's aged. It's not fresh and new. It's not modern. It's kind of starting to fall apart, but it's still together. I find it beautiful. It was a training box. It's still fun. That's a trident maple. Acer Buer Joranaya. The Taiwanese plant. It's about a foot tall overall. It has leaves that can get about half an inch long. So this is a nice little close-up shot of that. This spring, it's doing well. It's alive. It's just not put out leaves yet. Bonsai led me to a place where I started filming it to show others what work I had understood because I couldn't find it on. I started a YouTube channel called Appalachian Bonsai. Like and subscribe. There's more to come. Stupid. I started doing this almost at the behest of this gentleman down in the bottom left-hand corner. I'll talk more about him in a minute. But me showing the knowledge of collecting trees from my local environment, my native woods, from my friends' yards, and then turning those into bonsai, built up a community around that. So there are better channels out there now. This one caught fire for a little while because the information was not there, and I helped bring that to the forefront. These are a couple of trees that I collected. That's my best friend. He's a goober. But the videos that are in my channel highlight these items. Talks about training, wrapping wire. Again, this is how you train a tree to get into a particular position. You can't always predict what a tree is going to do. And sometimes you have to kind of bend into your will for aesthetics. Right? You're taking inspiration from nature. And then fitting it within our own human aesthetic. It's not natural. It's just kind of naturalistic. Check out the natural example, and then you kind of make it your own expression. I give tutorials on training. These are guy wires going down to the pot, pulling branches down in a gentle way instead of wrapping wire around it. It's a very brittle species. That is a Sawara cycles. One of my favorites, best trees. Talk about tools. Have been sponsored by Japan and their tool before. It's very sharp. I have those bonsai tools sitting on the table over there. If you'd like to check those out. Some of them, not all of them. And next I'll talk about Arthur Jura. Arthur Jura is the curator of the bonsai collection down in North Carolina, at the North Carolina Arboretum. That's Asheville, North Carolina. If you've never been, I invite you to go. He works a lot with native species, but also with trees that have been donated to him. And I have been in contact with him for about a dozen years or so. We've struck up a very good friendship. Consider him my mentor. Beautiful trees, large and small. We've collaborated on all sorts of things, including several documentaries about his process with his trees. I love showing off his work. It's masterful, and so it's always nice to collaborate with the North Carolina Arboretum. I've got two more in the works, which they take forever. If you've never edited a video, an hour of footage will take 16 hours. And that particular tree was 6 hours on 2 cameras. So that took a hefty amount of time. The Carolina Arboretum also invites me to workshops on occasion. I teach design visualization for our industrial design program. And so we did some basic drawing of objects, get them worked up. And then I took them out into the bonsai exhibition garden and had them draw the trees. That was the thing, was how to draw trees. This is more of a contemporary style, right? We don't have a lot of traditional things. Maybe there's wrought iron that's done in a straightforward way, not in a wrought iron. You might think twists and turns. The timbers on the left-hand side. Those kind of jut out from the wall with no supports underneath. Very limited supports that are visible. And then you've got a concrete wall behind it. Here's another image. A couple of images. Human for scale. Don't ever forget humans. We're making these environments. We'll put ourselves in them. Timber on the bottom. I think it's Ipe because this is outdoors. Cypress, another good one. I don't think I put an image of cypress box or black locust box. That's okay. But beautiful trees on display in a very beautiful area. That pot right there is as much part of the design as the tree itself. And sometimes you make them out of wood, especially stable wood like ball cypress, which is rot resistant. Or redwood. Plain redwood is rot resistant. Black locust is very good. Ipe, of course, but it's very expensive. And I had an image of it. So big timber, little timber. What you see in a lot of Japanese gardens and places where you might find bonsai are also timber structures. So up at the top is a timber pavilion. This all those bars left and right zigzagging back and forth is an ADA accessible ramp with bonsai at every turn. That is the bonsai exhibition garden available to all people, and it terminates up at the top with that beautiful timber frame pavilion. That's a close-up of it. They do workshops up here when the weather's good. They show movies. Like we premiered one of our the films that I had done for the Arboretum up in this pavilion to a very nice crowd. But there's bonsai all behind this photographer. And of course, it patinas as it gets older, right? It starts to create that wabi-sabi feel to it. This is another timber frame within the Arboretum. And I invite you to go to the North Carolina Arboretum in Asheville. Get married, have a beer. Get divorced, whatever you want to do. All right. They pay homage to Frederick Law Olmsted, who did not design this Arboretum, but I think he was working with the Biltmore. I don't think he did anything, but planning to. They pay homage to him. They also pay homage to the Cherokee Nation, which lives nearby, and upon whose land Arboretum and all of Asheville is built upon, right? So they do pay homage to the peoples that have built up this land from the Cherokee to Frederick Law Olmsted, inspiring other landscape architects. Professionals use timber in their structure. So this is Bjorn Bjorholm. He lives in Juliet, Tennessee. He's a master and one of the only Westerners to be able to teach in Japan. He's actually moving back to Japan next year. It's kind of a bummer. It's nice to have a master bonsai artist living so close. You can see the timber around him. These are some images I took when he had an open house. Timber structures all through this to highlight. They age the patina. They look good with the trees. You have the tree with an old wooden base. It looks very nice. Much like when you have a timber frame, you put a fresh branch on top. We're taking fresh branches and putting dead trees below. They frame it well. Looks good. Helps out in the landscape too. This is another master. This is Ryan Neal out of Portland. Portland has a really strong timber industry. Where a lot of your Douglas fir comes from. The redwoods were estimated to what their current state is because of the timber industry. I'm not sure what species he's using. It's definitely a coniferous species based upon the knots in it. But you can see a timber structure in the back. The benches are timber themselves. Another timber structure on the other side. This is a different view from that. From his garden. And he has a timber frame garden platform or greenhouse. which I think is beautiful. This is a natural art form, bonsai. And the timber itself is a natural form. And combining these things together can juxtapose the rigid linear forms that we see in the timber frame with the organic forms that we see within the trees. And they're the same thing. You can also use them as the exhibition themselves, not just a house. I did get to see this as it was being staged. I didn't get to go to the opening of this. And I have a picture from around the pavilion. You know, stretched way out. I have images of it, but it's a terrible picture, so I didn't put it in here. But this is at the Japanese, or the Portland Japanese garden. Very, very beautiful space. And they created space with these timbers and the gusset plates, which are the steel plates on the sides. And framed each one in a very contemporary way. We take our traditions from all sorts of places, whether it be European, Japanese in this case, and then we make it our own. And that's something that a lot of American artists, including Bjorn, Arthur, Ryan, Neil, myself, we learn and we pay homage to these people. By doing this art form and using the tools and techniques, we also need to express ourselves. And this is an expression from Ryan. We can express it in our own gardens, sometimes in less artistic ways. A couple of 2x4s will age very nicely. But you can create your own benches out of wood, liner made out of wood, and salt horses. Nice little timber, and I'm calling 2x4s timber. They are made of wood. But not veneer for sure. They may not be as beefy as your standard timber, but they are being used in a way similar to a frame, just on a small scale, like bonsai. You can even create your own little timber frames within bonsai itself. So this is John Gene Angel, a good friend down in South Carolina, and he put this in an exhibit. So it's kind of funny. Adding a tree house to a bonsai. But if you have information or want more information, this is one of the best places to start. It's out of print. That book is over there. You can check it out. But they are available online. Excellent book. Harry Harrington, his books, Inspirations 1 and 2, also very good for starting in the world of bonsai. I've talked a lot about homages, and I want to talk about this lady. This is Dana Markham. This is the part where I cry. Dana Markham is a Virginia Tech graduate, teacher. She died about an hour ago. She's also the matriarch of our Bonsai Club, and was again a mentor to me, and I helped her out up until of course recently. So anyway, just want to say thank you all very much for listening to this. And if you have questions, I'll be happy to answer them. All right. Any questions, Keith?
So a lot of these bonsai trees, that trees that are used for bonsai, I should say, that you show in this presentation are very small, very much at a human scale to be fit on a desk. But most trees are very large. So are these very young trees? Are they? Do they eventually outgrow their pots?
They will eventually outgrow their bonsai tree. In the right-hand side is probably close to 1,000 years old. Doesn't mean that it's been in training for 1,000 years. It's probably been in training for about 25 years. Ryan Neal collected that whenever he came back to the States from Mr. Kimura, who was his master, if you will. And then he trained it this way. There are trees that are or have been in training for over 1,000, which is even more impressive to me than collecting something that already had. The tree and bringing it down from a large scale to a small scale and bringing it into our gardens and in our homes is part of some philosophies that come from Taoism, from Buddhism, to bring the spirits of what's around us closer toward us. But we find them aesthetic, which is why we it will outgrow its pot. The Yamaka pine, which is at the National Collection in DC, is about 400 years old and donated to that arboretum from Japan. It started off as a seedling. Somebody grew it. It probably wasn't that tall. Only a foot tall. 10 years, 20 years of age. It's been developed. And each time you have to go a little bit larger, a little bit larger. You can reduce it down to size based upon pruning techniques. But eventually for the health of the tree, which is most important. You gotta go a little bit bigger. What other questions?
What other questions?
Back.
Just to confirm, so you start with a regular like tree seed and then prune it down, and that like forms it and like makes it go miniature because it keeps getting pruned.
Pruning is
what helps
make it smaller.
Keep it small.
You want to let that seed grow and get healthy before you do anything.
So
it needs to be strong.
It needs to be strong.
You cut a weak tree, it's going to suffer. If you cut a strong tree, then there's a better chance that it's going to produce more leaves. You also prune the roots whenever you repot it, and that produces finer roots. So you know those big chunky roots you see at the base of the tree? That's not doing anything but holding other roots to the main part. The little fine roots, which if you look at it in spring, they're going to be kind of a white tipped, not more than a few millimeters wide. That's what's feeding the tree. The other ones used to be that way, but then they got bigger, and now they're just conduits for all the nutrition and water, and everything else that's coming to the tree. Whenever you prune a root, it will produce new fine roots. And the fine roots, those are the feeder roots. That's what invigorates. So when you prune it, keep it small, it'll put out some new ones. And those will get thick and lignified, and when you prune them again, it'll put out some feeder roots. So that's how you can prune it and keep it small while also keeping it healthy. And it also limits the resources and therefore it works everything. That's a lot.
Pruning and like guiding the branches, the training part.
What about it?
Is that the definition of training?
That's part of training. Wiring it is training it into a particular shape. Pruning is training it to be more ramified and reducing the structure of the top. By ramifying, I mean it's going from one branch, two branches, four branches, 8 branches, getting tighter and tighter. The more that foliage compacts close to that trunk, the bigger that tree, quote unquote, looks. And that's all part of the tree. What other questions do you have?
Is bonsai a form of art or a form of design?
It's both.
It's both.
Come back here. It's a form of
horticulture too.
I think it's part of design. You get to decide what that tree does. And then you get to view it as art. What is art, Keith? You know this. And I mean that in a very nice way for y'all that don't know Keith. For me. I love Keith. That was a rhetorical question. So as I showed you this is me. You could call that art, but to me this is design. Right? It's my artwork. You see it post. But in me during this entire process is me figuring out what I'm going to do with this tree. What I need to let grow stronger so that the branches get thicker. Where I need to prune off. Where am I going? This is my roadmap. So that's part of what I call design of this tree. And then hopefully it'll end up being incorporated in the physical form onto that tree. And then the tree develops into art. Maybe it's because after it's gone through the design process, it becomes art. And then it stays that way for a period of time, grows itself, and then you have to come back again for another 2 years or so. Yes.
Could you train the tree that's in the ground to do
this?
Yes, people do.
See if I can. There's a picture of Arthur. Sorry, I know I'm flipping through a bunch of stuff here. This right here. This tree was started in the ground. This is a maple. I think it's a trident maple, maybe a Japanese maple. Was started in a seed in a pot until it got strong enough to go into the ground. If you put it into the ground and you give it all the room in the world to grow, it's gonna grow. When you restrict it in that space, it's like the goldfish. They will get as big as you want them to be. But if you restrict their space, they stay relatively small. Until they die. And then that's why you go for a bigger tank. With this, you get it into the ground and it grows big, and then you cut it back. You let it grow again, and judiciously prune it back to where you want some big branches. Judiciously prune it back again. You can see the big saw cut at the top. That's starting to callus over. That was a saw cut while in the ground and left in the ground to
in the
grow
ground
over.
to grow
Because
over.
while it's strong,
it's strong,
it's going to fill that void up
very
quickly
quickly
than if it was in a pot.
if it was in a pot.
Once you get
to a certain stage,
you're going to need to take it out and start getting it
getting
into the pot.
into the pot.
And that's what is happening on the left-hand side. That was taken from the ground
and
and then put into this large wooden container and allowed to grow, but more ramified. And then ultimately put into a bonsai pot. I'm filming that process. And then on the right-hand side, the American elm. That's what it looks like now. It's in its finished pot, ramified, everything started and grown in the ground. Cool.
Can you use any species of tree to do this, or are there specific?
You can use any species of tree for bonsai. It's not a special species. However, some are more conducive to the process than others. A rhododendron, which we have growing all around here, has very long leaves. Right? They might be 6 to 8 inches. They're not going to reduce in size very much. The leaves will naturally reduce in size. But that rhododendron is not going to reduce very well. You would need a very large tree for it to look in proportion. So you can look at it as an azalea. An azalea has pretty small leaves, and they reduce quite nicely. If you're creating a bonsai that looks like a rhododendron, you might consider just using like an azalea to do that. English and Japanese and Korean beech trees have pretty small leaves. Our Native American one, which is a Fagus grandifoliae, has grand foliage has really big leaves. It doesn't do as well. But you can. You can do the same techniques. It'll work.
2 questions. First one's quick. The timber frames, were they generally held together at all with pegs, or were there any other fasteners?
All the ones that we did were held together with pegs. But it is not the only way to do it. That's the traditional way. Some other ways would be using gusset plates, which on one of the last slides I had steel plates on either side. It's called a gusset plate. We did the timber frame for the main stage. It's called the Dreaming Creek stage at Floyd Fest. Massive timber, but because of the span of that, they put in a 2-inch diameter pipe from one end to the other, plates and washers and nuts on the other side. And so you just kept those nice and tight.
And then the so on bonsai, I guess like I'm thinking of things that are not traditionally bonsai. Take like, I know, like I grew up around some of those pine trees that were carved into spheres out in California, and then I think of like everybody topping trees, or that's what I refer to it as in like the suburbs. It's really common here. Those maybe types of bonsai that have been sort of hacked or
no, that's actually considered topiary.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
As I mentioned, the term pinching or bonsai means like a tree in a pot. But there's more to that. I mentioned that, but I didn't expand upon that. It's trying to find a tree that has the illusion. It's an illusion, right? Of age being weathered by the elements. That looks like it's had a really hard go and still surviving. That's what that is. Okay. A lot of different people will philosophize on what that actually means to them. I think it looks like an aged tree, even if it's young. If it gives the illusion of that age, then it would be considered bonsai. The other is topiary. Yes.
Do the size and shape of the bonsai pot, does that affect the growth of the tree, or is it serving mostly an aesthetic purpose?
It's both. Yes. And good question. Bonsai is definitely part of the design of that. Find a good image. We'll leave it here for a second. We have that big clunky box. All right. That's to help it grow in a very healthy way and just allowed to grow wild. The minute you put it into a ceramic pot that doesn't breathe as well, that is more shallow, doesn't have enough water in it, it reduces its growth significantly, which helps with the tree to appear smaller in scale, not just visually, but that small pot restricts the nutrients, therefore makes leaves smaller. These soils are very coarse and they're watered every day. So you have to pay attention. That's why you can't leave on vacation without having somebody watch your trees. If you go too shallow a pot too quickly, you can definitely kill the plant. If you go too big, then visually you just do off the aesthetic and more visual appeal is on the pot and less on the tree. So it's balanced. The tree frames or the pot frames the tree, but they need to be in accord with each other. Yeah, AJ.
Is there a technical size limit? If you have all the time in the world and specialized equipment, could you like make a full-grown tree which is designed by someone?
All right, they do
All
try
right,
to
they do try to
limit
limit
it
it
to
to
about
about
4 feet.
4
About 4
about
foot
4 foot
is considered an imperial size.
size.
But you may
But
see,
you may see
trees that are 10 feet tall,
10 feet tall
in
in
massive
massive
pot. Out in places, where
fig
can grow very,
grow
very,
very
large.
large.
You'll see
You'll
that more,
see
in,
that
like
more in like Philippines,
Taiwan,
and
and Vietnam.
Vietnam. They have some really big
bonsai, very large.
very large ones.
Is it important for the tree to go through the seasons?
Yes,
Yes.
if it's a seasonal
tree.
So all of these trees that I've shown here at the Arboretum will experience fall color. They go through winter, spring, summer, and fall. The most important species that they have during winter, they will put into a refrigerator and keep it just above freezing. So that way they don't have the ice, the snow, the wind damage that can occur. So they keep them in kind of dormancy, which kind of nice whenever you've got 300 plants and then you get them out on the benches. Keep them in cold storage until you're ready. But the tree still knows they will awaken in late spring in the cold. Yes.
Is there like a popular market for these bonsai trees?
Oh yeah. They get stolen
quite a bit.
And that sucks. That tree off
on the right hand
side
is
a red maple, Acer rubrum. So that's a native species. That was sell for a couple of $1,000. All right, so that's why they're stolen. They're easy to pick up and move. The problem is people don't know how to take care of them, and therefore they die. Like I said, these have to get watered every day. They have to be outside every day. Quickest way to kill a bonsai tree is to put it on your coffee table. So yeah, there's a big market out there. It's artwork too. That's another thing. Yes.
I missed the part where you explained why your bonsai died this winter.
Part of it is due to the winter itself. We had some pretty high and low temperature changes. I put out a video explaining what I understand to happen to those trees. So it's my last video. And what we have were big temperature fluctuations. When you have a warm season, they will start to send nutrition to the leaves. And then if you have a hard freeze, then it will expand and kill them. I had just pruned the roots, so they were already fragile. I may have pruned a little too much whenever I took those roots off. A lot of factors. But it sucked. It really did. I'm actually planning to take those trees, which I still have, and turning those into like a little bench, a pagoda or something. There's a little accent. Danielle.
I guess going off of the tree dying, how has doing bonsai impacted the way you do design? Because I get sad when my program crashes after doing CAD for 4 hours, so I can't imagine trying to grow and train this tree for 7 years and then going back into it, I guess, after that, after it dies. So I guess it's interesting to think about it because I feel like I've been told in prototyping you shouldn't really attach yourself too much to it. Try to do as many as you can, but also 7 years is a long time. I guess explaining how has bonsai impacted your mindset as a designer, and I guess specifically the design process and
Okay. The trees dying were disheartening, and I did a little bit of I would say bonsai work. But right now most of those trees are just I've got them on hold, keeping them alive. I'm checking on them every day. Some maintenance needs to happen in order to keep the tree small, but I'm not really stoked about it right now. And it's not because I'm hating my trees. Let me take a break away from this. What I didn't want to do is if you have a dog that passes away, to go out and buy another dog. Just take a break from it. The difference is that the trees are still alive and they need to be kept alive. So I can do this as right now they're just kind of hanging out. Water them every day, check on them every day. But I needed to take a break from that. I will return to this. Is not the first time this has actually happened. It happened about 10 years. It fluctuates. Keep going.
So you mentioned, bonsai starting in China and then moving to Japan, and then you mentioned, your channel Appalachian bonsai, sorry for this pronunciation. And you mentioned as well, like Filipino and Taiwanese bonsai artists who answer some of the questions. So I'm just wondering, how has bonsai been changed as cultural diffusion takes place and it spreads around the world? How do people adapt to the art?
It's amazing.
It's amazing.
Europe
Actually has quite a
bit of a leap
ahead of us as far as
here in the United
States.
China's been doing this
for
more than 1,500
years, right?
Because that image, them holding the tray, that's art after this has already been taking place. You can see that there's an homage. Like this is important, which means it's gained importance long before that picture was ever. It happened to come to Japan, where they changed their aesthetic to a little bit tighter. It's a very refined type of artwork, whereas China's might be a little bit more naturalistic. Japanese bonsai fits into a very rigid structure of tradition. Until Kimura came along, who was the guy Ryan Neal I showed a little bit ago. His master decided to go wild, beautiful, wild, funky, twisty trees, very contemporary. It was called contemporary at the time. And then they trained Westerners. We go hog wild. We get a hold of something. But the Europeans accepted it much more readily than we have in the States. So the Europeans have very angular lines to theirs. Some of them have some rounded top to them, but you might see some really strong triangles coming out of Italy and Spain. We're figuring out our style. Most of that's actually happening on the West Coast, except for here at North Carolina, Arboretum. We have very wet weather. Things rot. Things start taking different type of age than in the dry areas of the West Coast. But they are a hotbed of really innovative styles, especially Ryan Neal. We are going to see what an American style is. It might just stay regional. Yes.
I saw a question pop up from Diane in the chat.
Okay. We got.
Hit escape. You'll get that.
All right. Chat. Lots of people in the chat.
I can read it out for you.
I think it was just something not working. If you do have stuff in the chat, let me know. You let me know. Any other questions?
Ask a question. Is the age determined by the age of the tree or how long it's been in training?
Most people will say how long it's been in training. The trees that I collected from the woods may have been 10 years old. But they've only been in training for 8 to 10 years. I have a tree that's 60 years old, but it's been in training for 50. And that was passed along to me. That's how a lot of bonsai artists will actually define what age is.
You just grab a sapling from the forest. Is that how you start a bonsai tree, or is it? Would you go with seeds usually?
You can, yes and no, depending on many factors. One is species. You cut the greenery off the pine, it's going to die back to the next greenery. And if there's no greenery below it, it's dead. Same thing with a lot of other conifers. Deciduous trees, you can cut them more pronounced, but you should not collect them unless it's late winter, early spring, or around October for a couple of species. Other times of the year, you're at greater chance of killing the tree. And that's just due to the way they grow. Learn horticulture before you do bonsai. You need to keep the tree alive. That's the most important thing. You have to do certain processes at certain times of the year because the tree will not accept it or reject it and die otherwise. And it takes years. Yes.
Do bonsai trees create seeds?
Yes, they can. If you let them. It takes a lot of energy too. But I had a hawthorn. Let's say. Oh, that one on the left-hand side with the red hat. That one produced fruit this year. Produced a little hawthorn fruit.
Plant those seeds? Does it make a bonsai tree?
No, it just makes a regular sized tree. You can you can look online. Look up apple bonsai, and you will find little miniature ones that might be 4 inches tall. That particular is Mame. Not the plant,
but
but
the
the size.
size.
They're
They're
different sizes. Different names.
Different names.
A mame,
apple,
and it will have a full size apple
attached to it.
Makes for a
Very
very
interesting
display.
display.
It produces
full-size
flowers
flowers
and full-size fruit, no matter what you do.
Last question before we wrap up.
One last question.
What are some of the best species for a beginner?
Juniper, procumbens nana, which is the dwarf garden juniper. You can buy those pretty cheap. Which is, I think I passed it up. Nope. That tree. Juniper procumbens is usually told or given to people as their first one. If you want to keep it indoors, don't buy that. Buy a ficus. Ficus would be willow leaf. Ficus is very easy to care for. Very hardy tree. If you forget to water it, it's going to live for a while. That one you can leave on your coffee table. This one will turn brown pretty quickly. This is one that many people will find in a mall. We call them bonsai. It's like, hey Rube, come and buy this thing. So you spend 25, 30, 50 bucks, take it home, and it's dead in a month. They just don't tell you that that's how it's supposed to be taken. Make sure you have good drainage holes. Look on the bottom of the pot. You buy a bonsai online. Make sure there's no super glue or hot glue in the bottom. Peel that glue out so it drains. Otherwise you rot. Have root rot. Is that the last question? Everybody over in Zoom land, everybody here, I just want to say thank you very much for listening and asking good questions. Perfect. And Sean, thank you. Yeah.